Yeah, well, this is to Sudan.
Good evening, everyone. This is Gordon Mosley coming to you live this evening. And I have joining me attorney at law Darren Wade. He is a family attorney, the family of Adriana Younge, that 11-year-old girl whose lifeless body was found last Thursday in a pool at that hotel on the institution area. So we're going to be talking with Mr. Wade, who on this very eventful day was there when that post-mortem examination was carried out. As I mentioned, Mr. Wade is representing the interests of the family of the young lady. Darren, good evening. A very eventful day for you, for the family. First of all, before we get into the discussion about that post-mortem examination, how's the family doing at this time? I know you've been with them all day. We've had little chit-chats with them here and there, but you had a front row seat to everything. How are they doing at this time?
Well, they appear very traumatized, very, very traumatized of what transpired. Gordon, we just came out with the family. We just came out from a war zone. We had to be stuck out at the back from the building. We had to, matter of fact, where we were, George Hospital, we was one entry in. However, there was an entry that was blocked off. We had to clear chairs and so forth to be able to exit. That buildings, we've gotten shot, building being stoned. We don't know if it's still is it in the building. The mom, she was being startled every moment and shaking at every time the building was hit. So they're very traumatized at what transpired at the hospital this afternoon.
And the trauma for that family actually began last Wednesday when they were there at the hotel and little Adriana went missing. And that trauma continued into the next day when her body was eventually found. I know you sent a letter earlier, over the weekend rather, to the president with some of the demands of the family, including for this independent pathology report to be done, for this forensic examination to be done by independent pathologists. And that took place today. So take us through what happened today from the very beginning, and then let us know what those results are. I understand we spoke with the father earlier, and he said the results were that she, based on the examination, that she died from drowning. So explain to us the process that was done today as best as you know.
Gordon, if you can recall, it was our doctor, Dr. Gary Collins, who from when we made communication with him and he agreed um, to come to Guyana to carry out to assist in this examination, he requested several things. Pictures, X-rays, so on, showing different parts of the body, and he also requested a scan to be done. This is the first time in Guyana such an examination is being done or was done, and it was a result of um, our pathologist, who is the chief examiner for the United States state of Delaware, the state of Delaware, USA, and he's the one who requested that. It was not done prior to his arrival, so those things had to be done this morning. That was done at the Dr. Baldwin Singh Hospital this morning.
So we saw that that CT scan that was requested by the doctor. We saw that being done, or the body being taken at Baldwin Singh initially for that to be done, and then there was a delay from when that was completed to when the actual post-mortem examination began just after 12:30. Explain to us what was happening between that time, because I understand that the family had to be briefed first. So tell us what took place in that briefing with these foreign pathologists before they began their examination of the body.
Well, again, this was a request by Dr. Gary Collins, who said he needs to have an understanding, appreciation of who the deceased was. That they explain who's Adriana Young or Liza, could she swim, what transpired, and so forth, what transpired on the day. So from the beginning, the family said to us, doctor, we wouldn't be surprised or one of whether or not she would drown or she died by drowning and so forth. But it's more or less it's whether or not, even before even cutting her or the examination being carried out, um, whether or not she died by drowning. So they explain.
I think we just lost Darren. We're going to try to get him back in a moment. But he was sort of taking us through that meeting with the family that took place just before that post-mortem examination began this afternoon. We're going to try to get back Darren in just a bit, but he was taking us through that. We are trying to make connection back with him. We lost him. He was joining us
Hear me?
from his chambers. Okay, and I
Can you
see
hear me?
him.
Someone
He's
try to get
popping back up. Okay, Darren, I think you're back with us, right?
God, let me apologize. Someone tried calling me. Let me see if we could put it on know this store because if people want to call now,
Okay.
I will be thrown off again. So I'm
Yeah,
getting some
okay.
assistance
Someone
here.
tried calling him during the broadcast, so that threw him off a bit. But we're back with
Gordon,
Darren.
put me back in the box. Let me see if you could. Hi, Gordon. If you could
Yeah,
put me back in the box, I could put the phone on know this store because if this person may want to continue to call, so I'll be thrown off every time they call. So can I put on know this store and come back in?
okay. Well, if you will, yeah, we're gonna stay with it. So if you can do that quickly,
Yes,
I'm gonna
thanks.
take it through the pace as he does that. Do not disturb for persons who are trying to reach him during this live broadcast. But as I was just mentioning, Darren was telling us what took place when they were there, saying that Dr. Collins, the pathologist that the family requested and brought in from the state of Delaware, he wanted to talk to the family to have an understanding of who Adriana Younge was, so he could prepare himself. So Darren was just telling us that was the nature of that earlier meeting before the post-mortem examination began. He mentioned earlier too that early this morning, once they brought the body over from the funeral home in the West Demerara, they went to the Balwant Singh Hospital where they did that X-ray of the body, that full X-ray of the body, and where they also uh, did the forensic CT scan, as the doctors call it. I see Darren is rejoining us. So, Darren, I was just reminding them of some of the things you said, but we were talking before we got disrupted. We were talking about that briefing, and you were explaining to us that Dr. Collins really wanted an understanding of who young Adriana Younge was, the person she was. So, take us back to that.
Right. So the doctor concerned before he wanted to know whether or not she could swim. I think that was one of his main concern was whether she was a swimmer. And the family disclosed yes that she was a swimmer, that she used to be in the river, swimming in the river, swimming in the beach, and so forth.
And so you got an understanding of that. So
Yes.
I understand that during that discussion too, he examined photographs and video clippings. Did that take place during
No,
that
we
meeting before?
well photographs of our discovery and so forth, and the video of the discovery was shown to him. Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, so that then took place, and then they moved the body over to the Georgetown Hospital just after 12 to begin that post-mortem examination, the actual examination. And I know there were three doctors there. There was Dr. Collins, who was there on behalf of the family, the pathologist. And there was a pathologist from Mount Sinai Hospital, and also the pathologist from Barbados, all of them being there for that post-mortem examination. So take us through that. And what was that process like? Some of the questions that they might have asked during that process, or some of the things they said they were examining and looking at.
Which process? Talking about the postmortem.
Yes, the postmortem at the Georgetown Hospital.
Well, in relation to what the doctors, I had a distant view of what transpired. So I cannot speak on to relation to what the doctors discussed and what they were looking for. What I know is that they examined the body. They did several cuts were made and so forth. So
Okay.
I cannot say what the discussions the doctor themselves had. I was not never part of a doctor's discussion.
Okay, I understand that. But once that was over, They then had a briefing of the family. It all was taking place on the outside with the building up
Yes.
of the crowd and the police and all of that. There was a briefing of the family, and I know you were in that meeting as those doctors were talking to the family. So, what exactly did they explain to the family as to their findings?
So we had the three pathologists, and we also had Dr. Caleb McGovern on his phone, who's the family doctor. We also had one nurse, Karen Pierre, who also examined, who was not examined, who also was present to witness the post-mortem. So the family they explained that that they did a thorough examination. They examined the body, and they for that's why I'm only saying, Gordon, to you what the doctor said, responding to your question. The reason why I want to say this is not from Darren Wade. I'm an attorney at law, and I do not want aspersions to be cast. I am just saying what the doctors express. This based upon them, based on what they said, they examined the body. There were no marks of violence on the external part of the body. There were no broken limb. The skull wasn't cracked or anything of the sort. Dr. McLaughlin, the family doctor, said yes, Caleb, that this is what transpired. They did not determine any infliction of any wounds or anything of the sort. So
And then they
want to be clear, this is not from Darren Wade. I'm only reporting from the doctors and all, well, the four doctors.
And again, you're saying those four doctors said based on their examination, there were no broken limbs, there were no marks of violence on the body. Uh, if I'm clear as to what you were saying, they said,
Correct, correct,
and then they told them about the drowning.
correct.
So what did they explain to them with that drowning? How they may have determined that?
Well, I believe they look, based on my understanding, they look at the lungs, and there was some kind of froth or mucus that was consistent with drowning. That's my understanding. This is Darren Wade's understanding. On train, I'm an attorney at law. Once again, not a medical practitioner.
Yeah, and I see you're making that very clear this
It's very
evening.
important. It's just very important, Gordon. You know, my integrity as an attorney at law. I'm not a medical practitioner.
Yeah.
And there are persons who may want to create mischief and want to say things to bring my reputation and my character into disrepute. I just want to remind the public, or not going to usually employ that I'm an attorney at law, not a medical practitioner.
Yeah, so you were just reporting what they explained to the family.
Thank you,
We
Gordon.
heard the family saying, just after that examination was completed, we heard the family saying, the father in particular, saying this was the result, but to him, that's no result. Sort of raising a concern that they're not going to accept that. Was that the feeling you got from the family? I know you must have been in some discussion with them.
As I indicated, the father was not in the meeting um, with the doctors. So when they explained the procedure and what they've done and so forth, as I indicated, even the aunt earlier in the day had indicated, I said that that they may whether or not it is drowning or not, they can't say. But what they're insisting that the drowning, that's what they're insisting was not done in the pool. That's my understanding from the family in the meeting, that they're insisting with the drowning. If she died by drowning, it was not in the pool.
Or they're not sure where it might have taken place.
Correct. Correct.
So still have some questions there. But I know you plan to engage with the family moving forward on this because, as you had mentioned, the family had contacted you that same night when they were trying to get into that hotel to begin the search. And they've raised concerns, Darren, about the entire police operation from that night, how the police handled that. And those concerns still linger, creating this sort of tense situation that now exists here in Georgetown.
The police failed the family, Gordon. They did a poor job. And that's the reality, and that's, as you rightly said, that's why
I think someone might be trying to reach Darren again, folks. If, he's doing a live, so I'm hoping that those persons who might be trying to reach him will allow him to complete the broadcast. Hopefully, he joins us back. But again, Darren was explaining to us, and he made it very clear that this was what was reported to him and the family during that meeting. Is that the family, they were told by these forensic specialists, one from Barbados, two from the US, including the chief medical examiner from the US state of Delaware, that they were told that based on their post-mortem examination, there were no marks of violence found on the body, and uh, and so he was saying that based again on what the doctors said, they said to the family, based on their examination and what they may have seen in her lungs, that she died from drowning. And so that is the report that they give to the family. They also reported that there were no broken limbs or marks of violence. So Darren was explaining to us that that was what was said to the family of the deceased, young Adriana, uh, young Adriana Young. And so that's the latest that we have here so far. Darren got disconnected again. He was joining us from his office here in Georgetown. But this is a very tense situation here in Georgetown tonight. We saw moments ago a person setting fire to debris on the road earlier this evening. We saw the situation outside the Georgetown Hospital where there was sort of a clash with the protesters and with the police who were out there trying to move them away from the area. But the medical examination, as we were telling you earlier today, began pretty early this morning when the remains of Adriana Young were brought from the funeral home, taken first at the Balwan Singh Hospital, where they did a full X-ray of that body. And then once that was completed, they did a full body CT scan, a forensic CT scan, and that would say exactly what's going on inside the body before they then move the body again to the Georgetown Hospital to do the dissecting of the body for the post-mortem examination. I see Darren is back with us. And Darren, you were making a point before you got disconnected again. You were saying that the family believe, and you believe too, that they sort of failed, the police failed the family from when they made that initial report.
That is correct, Gordon. That is absolutely correct. The proper searches was not done. They did not secure the area. They did not try to drain the pool and so forth. The state is unfair to the family and how they treated young Adriana Young. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, and I know, as I mentioned earlier, you were contacted on that night. You visited the family immediately. They've had meetings with the president. We were there for one of those meetings that took place, I think, was on Saturday. But on this Monday night, we're learning this evening what took place. Based on what they said to you two, Darren, that post-mortem examination, did it indicate a time of death? Did they look at an approximate time of death? Was that something that they looked at and explained to you and the family?
The question was asked in relation to the time of death, and the response was that they were unable to state what the time of death was.
And I know there were also some concerns initially when the body was brought out of that pool last Thursday. There were persons who were saying there was a cotton like material in her nose. Did they explain to the family what that might have been?
Well, as myself, I explained to them, to the doctors myself. From my own training, I told them I saw cotton wool. That's what I believe, and what I saw was cotton wool. The doctors did not find cotton wool, or there were no cotton wool at the time of the examination in the nostril. However, there may have been some mucus or froth that it was consistent with drowning at the time of the examination.
As you mentioned earlier too, this team that came in, there was Dr. Collins, who is the lead forensic specialist, medical examiner from the U.S. state of Delaware. That's a doctor that came in on behalf of the family, and there were these two other independent doctors there. But there were also some local medical people overlooking or paying attention to what was going on. And we understand too that everything was video recorded.
Excellent. Yes. Let us take the first instance, right? So the family will have a recording there that they have the family had a representative who did the recording. I don't know the quality or what it is or it was, but the family had a recording for themselves. But let's go back to the other medical person from here. They had one other. Well, you had local doctors here or morticians there, and they had Dr. Caleb McLaughlin. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He was the family doctor there looking over the family interest, and his response to the family was consistent with the three doctors, the three expert. There's also a nurse there as there on behalf of the family, and and the nurses have never seen such a thorough pathology before. So and they reported, those are the medical persons who reported that to the family.
And Dr. McLaughlin, being the local doctor representing the family, as did other persons.
Right. I, again, I'm a lawyer. I asked about the law. I could speak about the law, not in relation to what the doctor saw, what I didn't see, and what have you. I could only say what my ears heard.
Yeah. Your concerns as a lawyer, as someone who deals with the law, I know you said the police force failed from that initial report. There must be some concerns too about even after the fire and everything, that area was left open. So there must
And
have been some concerns too about
we
that.
passed there, and I raised this with the police. Persons were taking out things as well. We passed an excavator there. I believe it was Sunday when we went to see the family again. You know, we called for an independent investigation to be done. We called for the FBI, we called for the Scotland Yard, we called for the police from Canada. We are still making that call for that independent investigation to be done. The state has not moved in any direction in relation to those persons coming to Guyana and to carry out those investigations. And they have to be fair to the family. The family has lost confidence in the Guyana police force.
Yeah.
And that aspect, the state has not delivered.
And as you mentioned, they had a full briefing with the family after. A very, very tragic story this evening. Before we leave, Darren, taking you back to that autopsy report and some of the things that were discussed during that autopsy. I know the family had raised concern and other people raised concern about some discolorations that they saw on the body when the body was brought out of that pool. Did they at all say what that might have been based on
Well,
their
my
examination at this
understanding
time?
that that was consistent with with the water.
Or they're saying that was consistent with water?
Yes, because
And
they went, even though, if they, even despite that, they went to see if there's any cut to see if it's beyond that and so forth. So that it appears to be, according to them, superficial.
because that's one of the things Dr. McLaughlin had explained earlier, that it was a forensic autopsy. It was very detailed, where they were going to be making specific cuts in those areas of concern and examining tissue and those sort of things there. So that was done.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Darren. I know you have to meet with the family. So thanks a lot for affording us this time here this evening as a nation remains on edge and still looking for answers. Hopefully, some of the answers were provided today, but the family, of course, still not satisfied and explaining the hurt they're feeling.
And justify me so, Gordon. Justify me so I could understand and appreciate the family circumstances
Yeah.
and their suffering. I could understand that. And I thank you, Gordon, for this opportunity for being here and from my perspective to try to explain to the nation what transpired. Dr. Collins had indicated that he would have been here, but because of the rioting and so on, all of the doctors came into leave this evening, this afternoon. We should have had a proper press conference where the doctors would have been speaking instead of me. But I still find it important to address to speak to the media so the country could have understanding and appreciation of what transpired.
All right. Well, thanks a lot again, Darren,
Thank you,
for
man.
your time. And we want to wish you all the best. I know it's a tough time for the family. So again, we extend our condolences to the family as they continue this process. And it's such a sad story, and we're going to keep following it up, and we're going to keep looking to you to guide us through from that legal perspective and some of the things that the family may still be looking for. So thanks a lot,
Grateful,
Darren.
Gordon. I thank you very much.
All right, Darren Wade, their attorney at law representing the family. And this was a news source special interview with the attorney, Darren Wade. That autopsy report, as we told you earlier, they're saying the child died by drowning. Adriana Younge died by drowning. As Darren told us, for the doctors, these independent pathologists explained to the family was that there were no marks of violence in her body. There were no broken limbs in the body. The discolorations on the hands, those discolorations were consistent with drowning. They looked at her lungs and they saw signs that would be consistent with drowning. Of course, that coming from the forensic scientists, these three pathologists who conducted this examination of the body. Stay tuned to News Source, gy.com, News Source here on Facebook, on YouTube. We're going to be running a bit late with the news tonight with all that's been taking place, but we encourage you to stay tuned for details of this and other stories. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.